the woman in my office got me like thinking about the word ladies. She was like, I hate when people end sentences with ladies. Like I automatically hear it like ladies. I'm like, ew.
Or that song, ladies, ladies.
That's
Yeah.
how I hear it, as more like ladies.
Well, and so this is something we're live on Facebook, first of all. Second of all, I always say lady. I always say, hey lady. And but I also went to an all girls Catholic school, so I get like if you're ending a sentence with ladies, it can be it can be kind of demeaning. But look, can I just show you? I have this thing on my phone that it's like what do you call it? Affirmation, and it's no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
Love it.
And
love that.
And I found that it was the weird. I don't know if you guys believe in like the universe like doing weird things for you, but
damn straight.
Yeah, somebody said something really snarky to me, and I started. This is like years ago. This has been my background on my phone for 2 years now, and I was just like, oh,
I'm writing
it's so
it
annoying.
down.
There's another like app called Womaze. And there was this thing, it was like a video and you could screenshot it and it would stop on a affirmation or some sort of like saying that, you know, it was different every time. And that was the one that popped up for me. And I was like, damn straight. No one has permission to make me feel shitty without me letting that happen. So I always tell people that too. Like if somebody's ugly to you or even with this statement, right? Like, oh, I feel like when somebody said ladies, I feel like that's on you.
That's on you. It's on the person who's receiving the message. It's up to you how you receive it, for sure.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. Okay, so why don't you ladies explain who you are and what you're up to these days?
Hi. So we're Katie and Catherine, and we're the 411K. We're a weekly podcast committed to women's financial literacy and wellness. And our goal is really to provide a community for women to feel safe talking about money and asking really the tough questions. We talk with experts and try to provide women with access to them through, their fields of study, their work, their experience, and really break down some really high level and taboo subjects into a approachable and digestible way.
Cool.
So yeah, go ahead.
Should we talk about how we met? I feel like that's a good little story.
It's a good connection. Yeah.
It is.
Two of you mad, yeah.
So I'm Catherine. So Katie and I, like so many great relationships, we met at work, slogging away in management consulting, and in between long hours and really difficult client meetings. And I had just returned from my maternity leave after having my first. So I was also like dashing off to go pump in random meeting rooms. Katie and I would have these really in-depth conversations about money, and she was just really hungry, and she'd ask these questions like, how much is a mortgage? And like, so what does daycare cost?
I'm really nosy.
She is. But I loved that because I was always talking about money, right? Like how living below your means is important and just sharing my philosophy. So we kind of just bonded on that. And I had recently paid off $40,000 in student loan debt. So I was like shouting from the rooftops, really proud of myself. I managed to do it like just before my daughter was born. And I figured I'm a few years senior. I'm a few years older than Katie. So I figured if I can share something with her that makes her journey easier, right? Like encouraging her to demand a better negotiator salary and demand better pay the next cycle we have for promotions, or let her know that maybe it's not a good idea to buy a house on 2 salaries if you expect to have kids and need someone to help take care of them, you need to pay, then all the better. And so we just started having these discussions and realized that we had a message to share and lessons to share with others as well. And we wanted to create this community.
And we want a lot of, we want people to have chats like these where you're talking about your career, talking about money, the same way you would talk about, your relationships or like The Bachelor on TV or whatever TV shows you're watching on Netflix, what you're reading, what's going on in politics. Like we want this to be something that's totally normal and something that you're comfortable talking about.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? I read something recently where like the whole like don't talk about what each other gets paid was all just like a farce to keep us from making more money.
Yeah.
And I I don't know, when I read that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I had never really thought about it before. And I'm from the South, so there are a lot of things we don't talk about, right? We don't talk about religion, we don't talk about
Politics,
and
money. Yep. So I'm so glad you said that, because that was the biggest motivator for us. I mean, raise your hand if you've ever asked a friend, a really close friend, who tells you everything about their life. Like, their family dramas, how many times they have sex each month, everything about them. Ask them how much they earn, and you get this like deer in the headlights look, like, and silence and crickets. And you're like, what did I say? Why is asking how much you earn so offensive, when money literally touches everything in our lives? It dictates how much food we buy each week or 2 weeks. It dictates where we live. It tells you how you spend your time. How can we not talk about that? And people are generally happy to share how many times they had sex this month, or how many pounds they're looking to lose. Those numbers are fine. But then for some reason, they're not comfortable sharing what's in their retirement account or how much they're earning. And I think by not talking about it, Katie and I talk about this all the time. By not talking about it, it's costing all of us collectively.
Well, the other piece of it is that I'm a girl mom. Like, I have three little girls who I don't want them being raised thinking they got to marry somebody to make a living wage. And that's not like not considered like that shouldn't be plan A. That should, I don't know. So that's a whole nother piece of it. But it's like, for me, it's like I'll be fine. Like, I know that I can get by, but it's my kids that I want to make sure that they don't have to have that stigma around money. And I think the reason why we don't talk about money is because we spend more than we make. We have credit cards, we have debt. We don't want to talk about it. We're like driving around like in these vehicles that we can't afford, living in houses we can't afford, and it's just like, all for what? So you can pretend like you have something you don't have. I'm like, I don't know. For me, I just think it's frustrating, and I don't want to put those thoughts in my kids' head. I want them to understand, look, this is what we take in, this is what we buy, and like that has to be a conversation that's had daily. It's something we think about every day. Why not? I mean, again, I'm all about like just being very clear and transparent with everyone. I mean, even around Palette, it's like, I'm so clear about all the risks that I've taken to open Palette, all the leverage that I've put on, the success I've had up until this point has all been leveraged to build this business. And everybody's got to know that like I'm in this, and they should feel in the trenches with me too. It's not, I'm not like at home eating bonbons and everybody's ramen noodles. Like, no, we're all eating ramen noodles.
Well, transparency is a huge part of it, right? So we've done episodes with, career coaches who have talked about the importance of negotiating and transparency, and the importance of transparency with negotiations. We talked with a former CEO, Denise Gonick, about even, her salary as the CEO and what that meant to be out in the public. And it's a really important piece where it's like, yes, people knowing your salary is super, super important, because it helps people negotiate, and it helps for, gender equality. And there's so many different pieces that it helps women. But then you take it a step further, right? And then we've also talked with like accountability coaches and financial experts like Melody Wright and Nicole Hatcher. And they started out by just being like, I'm in a ton of debt, and I'm going to start sharing this journey with my followers and letting them know how I'm getting through this. And that's a whole different level of transparency, where it's like, no, here's just not like this great salary that I get. Here's like the dark stuff that you don't see when I drive up in my car to work and I walk out with my designer bag, So I feel like those are the stories that are also really important to share, because that's exactly it. You have to see both sides of the coin, right? You have to see the successes and the failures. You have to see the stuff that's a little bit embarrassing and shameful to talk about.
Yeah, and I think that the more you're honest with yourself, first of all, you have to be honest with yourself. A lot of times we're like walking around with like, we're in total denial of like what's actually happening around us. And, I think, well, you're both married?
Engaged. I had a COVID wedding planned.
She's engaged, delayed wedding.
Listen, I actually, two of our really good friends are getting married this weekend. They were supposed to get married in April, and then they pushed it back to October. And when that wasn't gonna actually, that's not happening. They pushed it up, and then we're just gonna do a big party, they're going to do a small gathering with the two of them because they want to have babies and I want them to have babies. So I'm like, get on already. Again, none of my business, but I insert myself into people's businesses. And
that's why we started, Catherine.
Look, I'll leave it up to you to tell me it's not my business and I'll back off. But I want to know when the babies are coming. But those are really huge milestones that I think, we'll talk about money when we're married, when our finances are joined, or when we have kids, or when we need to put kids in school. And I think that is absolutely not what you should do. You should you're not too young to come up with a plan, and it's so much easier when it's just you, right? It's so much easier. Just freaking do it. Just
and
put
it's
a plan on place.
Catherine, it's so much easier to pick a partner with similar values to yours as well when you have gotten your financial affairs in order early. The earlier you do it, the better, because you know who you are as a financially independent person before you even enter into a relationship. And you can spot the red flags, differences in how your partner or spouse is spending money, and making sure that you guys can have those difficult conversations and get on the same page. You can't have that unless you're taking your own financial values into account there as well.
I think it's also fair to say that some of our favorite episodes have been talking about couples and relationships around money, because we have interviewed a former divorce attorney. We interviewed a relationship is it a relationship columnist slash author. We've interviewed financial therapists who work specifically with couples. We are fascinated by the fact that 51% of couples just don't talk about finance at all before they get married. That's insane. So I think part of it is working on yourself before you even get to that point, but part of it is, you need to be talking about this stuff, right?
and owning it. I was 20 stupid for all of my 20s.
For 9 years.
Such goofy decisions. I opened up credit cards to buy stupid, beer at the gas station, and and
everyone's waiting for their adult card to come in the mail, and it's not coming.
The adult bill comes though.
That's true. Also really bad credit along with that. So, I am sure this is something that you've discussed too. America was built on debt, so it's not always bad. And if you don't have debt, you can't qualify to buy a house. You can't get a business loan. So all of the business stuff is if you're a solo entrepreneur or a small business owner, it's all personally guaranteed, no matter which way you create an entity. It all comes back to you. So your credit is important, and it's just so stupid not to build on it in the right way early on. And I don't think you can be too young to figure that out. And I don't want to hear I'm in my 20s, I just want to have fun. Well, your 40-year-old self is going to hate you. So don't do that to her.
It's so true.
Yeah, I was going to say, Catherine definitely can build on this, but I think something that we need to say, just because we say it in almost every single one of our episodes, is personal finance is so personal too. So it even has to do with people's risk tolerance. I don't mind saying that I have multiple credit cards, but I also know that I am in a place where I pay every single one of those off every month, and I am not carrying any debt on my credit cards. So some people might be like, oh my God, you have 3 credit cards? That's ridiculous. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, well, I don't have any debt, so I'm not worried about it. I mean, Catherine, you can probably
you gotta build it up. And a lot of people, I also, the other piece of it is you don't need to be an economics major or an accountant to figure this out. It's all very just basic. A basic line of information is really all you need to build on to be successful and feel confident. I think that's the other piece of it. It's so emotional. We don't want to talk about contracts or negotiations. It's because we don't feel confident talking about it. So until we start working on that, we are not going to get ahead here, and I don't even want to get ahead. I just want to get even. And I think that that's not too much to ask.
Well, it's true. I mean, we had a guest on, Nicole Hatcher from Frugal Chic, and she had this great statement. So we all agree, generally people agree money doesn't buy happiness, right? But financial security does bring you peace of mind, right? And Nicole Hatcher from Frugal Chic, I have to give her the credit for this quote because I don't want to steal her words from her. But she said that so well. Money in this country equals access, power, and influence. And Catherine, in our interview with you, you gave our listeners pretty much verbatim the same exact message. I think you actually said like money is fucking freedom, right? But it is. It's something that lets you call the shots. It lets you feel confident, lets you make the decisions that the decisions aren't being made for you on behalf of you or without your best interests in mind. And that's what we're trying to create with our community is just a place where women don't feel ashamed to either ask the obvious question that maybe they should know by now because they're 32 and they don't understand some term, or to really peel back the layers of what's really uncomfortable about sharing a bank account with a spouse or running your small business and responding to COVID, because it really does, it filters into all areas of our life.
Yeah, and I think there's more. First of all, I think guilt is a wasted emotion. That one I got from my therapist, and it's so true. After she said that, I was like, it is. Like, why am I walking around with like such guilt? I've got nothing to feel guilty about. Yes, I bought that bag with that credit card, but I think that you should feel shame by not owning your shit, right? Like, own up to it, own that, like, yes, you made that decision, and without making that decision you wouldn't be where you are right now. Like, if I didn't bootstrap this business and use every leverage and every asset that I had in my name and my power and my business to get here, I wouldn't be here. And so it's like, yeah, I did what I had to do, and I'm not saying it's pretty, I'm not saying it, like, we're on the journey, I'm like in the middle of it. So I don't know if like 10 years from now I'll look back and be like, wow, I shouldn't have done that, but I have no regrets. I did what I had to do. I'm still married. I still have 2 businesses. I have 3 beautiful children that are healthy. I mean, it's not so bad. And I would regret not taking the risk more, so that I would lose more sleep over not doing what I'm doing right now than if I had taken it, and it's there's a lot on the line, but the buck stops with me, and I have faith in myself, and I'm confident in myself, and also the people around me, right? Like, I am not an accountant, I am not financial whiz by any means, but I do operate my business with a lot of humility, and I don't ever walk around like I've made it, because I haven't. And I think that leaning on the people who are going to support you and not asking those people for help over and over and over again. No, keep supporting me, please. I'm not there yet. Always, right? Like, it's like the most terrible thing to give up, right? Like, the most terrible gift to give up is not like seek the help and then lean on it, right? I don't know if I'm making any sense whatsoever.
No, you absolutely are, because it's totally fine to make mistakes. Every single person makes mistakes. Even if you feel like you've got your financial shit together, you can still make mistakes. It's just, the point is that you shouldn't sit in this shame where it's like, I made a mistake and now I'm forever in this hole of debt and I'm never going to come out. Like, you have to be purpose driven about fixing it, and you need to be like 100% focused on what your priorities are. I think a lot of our guests that we talk about, value-based spending. So picture the life you want, like, understand what those priorities and those values are, and then put your money towards it. And yeah, of course, every once in a while you're going to accidentally spend that money on that bag, or you're going to go out to dinner with friends and get an extra
Buy the
bottle
extra
of,
bottle.
yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, maybe that's just Catherine and I, but I don't know.
It's always us. It's always us.
We're like, just one drink and we'll have a business meeting, and then we're like 2 bottles later. But it happens, and you just have to be able to be like, okay, I made a mistake, and here I know my values, I know my priorities, and now I'm going to get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, the other piece too, it's like, just if you think you're the only one struggling, you have to, like, work on your self-awareness, because everybody is truly in, especially now with COVID, everyone's affected, everyone gets it, like everyone's really struggling right now. So I don't know, I also just kind of find like comfort in that, like, wow, everybody's actually feeling more like I have been feeling for the last 2 years than ever before. And I think that that's something that we can all like come together. I'm always like, we got to come together. We got to compare notes. We got to share the experiences here and get closer to that end goal together. And it's more fun when you're crossing the finish line with a group of people. So I mean, even like we're opening Schenectady, obviously it's been pushed back, but I am so excited to have people on the journey with me. It wouldn't mean as much to me if it was just me doing it, without a group of members who are signing on, committed and supporting me even during the pandemic. They're joining us. They are here for it. They are excited about it. And it's because they're having the opportunity to contribute and to like help other people. And I mean, that's inherently what I just find a lot of joy in, is just like helping people help themselves and in turn helping more people.
I mean, we are really excited. We recorded your story start to finish, and you have so much passion and you've overcome a lot and made some really tough decisions. We're really, really excited to share your entrepreneur story on Friday when we publish your episode. But I think it's important because you cover so many things. Like we talked about raising a family. We talked about starting a business, expanding a business, what that means between, like, from a gender equity perspective between you and your husband, what it means to create a community, and what you're still doing. Like, your story is, I mean, this is just a chapter in it, but we are so excited to share it.
And we covered this all with you standing in the street. Traffic, construction trucks in the background, your third baby sleeping on your chest in the ergo. And really, Catherine, this is why we do the podcast. It goes way beyond talking about money. Money is that common denominator that we focus on because we need it there in order to give us those guideposts. But with every guest, especially you, we walk away inspired, wiser, and ready to take on the world. And that's what we want our listeners to feel as well. And so we're really grateful to you for the time you spent with us in the middle of your hectic schedule.
Yeah, thinking back to that day, it was really, really hectic. And also, mind you, we were supposed to speak the week before, and I was like, ladies,
we had a false start.
I am at this place of, I was like really on the verge of just like crumbling, and I was like, I can't do it today. And, it was really cool. Again, every time that I have shown, like, I always say show my ass, but every time that I've done that, I've been supported by incredible people who are like, you know what? No, we're going to help you out. We're going to understand. We're going to be compassionate, and we'll do this another day. Like, the world is not ending. I know it seems that way, but it's not ending. And, when you're feeling like shit, that's the best thing that people can do for you, is like, just be like, look, it's going to be okay. And like, I see you, I know it's hard. So I appreciate you guys rescheduling. And then when we did finally talk, I'm like, yes, I'm on the phone, but I'm also here on this construction site laying down concrete for this outdoor parklet thing. And I went and told you all about that. So I even was worried. I'm not even going to listen to I haven't listened to the podcast, like our episode, because I'm like, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to call you and be like, I wish I wouldn't have said that? No, I said what I said. I meant what I said. Put it out there, and people will take it however they want to, right? That's on them.
Well, I took it in a really inspirational tone.
Money
I
is not a bad word. It's not a dirty word. We got to use it more often. We got to get more comfortable talking about it, and that's how we get more hands on it.
And I feel like we've experienced the exact same response when we've reached out to people. We started this and we were like, are we even going to get people to come on and actually talk about some of this stuff? Like, we're going to ask them some really uncomfortable questions. Like, it's going to get awkward. And we have been so shocked at so many women and just all of our speakers who are so willing to come on and talk to us about really uncomfortable things, but they're also willing to share their experiences with our whole community and be like, this is stuff you can learn from. This is like, I made the mistake. I don't want you to make the mistake too. Or say, we've both made the mistake, but look how I kind of dug myself out of this. So I feel like having that kind of support and that kind of community is so amazing.
And it's essential. It's important right now, you know, and I think that there are not enough platforms that are addressing it in ways that we, like, as women inherently need to hear it. Like we are such an emotional evolved species, like we are, and so we have to always lace the professional with the personal all the time, and that doesn't exclude money. And so, you know, we have a program here called Get That Paper, and it's just a, you know, confidential. It's almost like, you know, we want you to come and we want you to feel confident, and it's confidential and it's a safe place to talk about it, right? Like, ask all the dumb questions and get to the answer of it, you know? And so it's really cool. We have one of our members, Robin Morrison, who just launched a business in a pandemic. She's another one that you should talk to because she's so knowledgeable, and the way she communicates it is so like, oh, that makes sense. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated. So I'll have to connect you guys with her too, for sure. And then why don't you guys, where do we find the podcast? I'm obviously going to share it all over the place. But it's like wherever you get.
Yeah. So we're going to be posting it on all of our forms of social media. We're on Instagram. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Also our website, the411k.com. So we're going to be having it everywhere. We're going to be sharing it. We're super excited to let your community listen to it as well.
Yes. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you guys want to add? I know your time is valuable. Time is money too, right?
I think the most important thing is that if any of your community members have any questions or have a topic that they are uncomfortable or wanted us to look into and get an expert on, we are always happy to take feedback and take more topics for our listeners. So feel free to reach out to us at, the411k.com.
Yeah, we've got a question form on there. Any awkward questions you have, submit them and we can ask them on your behalf.
Okay, cool. And then if this is live on my Facebook page, I'll share it to Palettes too. And if anybody has questions, they can ask questions in the comments, and you guys can chime in there too. So
perfect.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to have connected with you guys again, and we'll have to catch up in a couple of months, right? And see how everybody's doing.
Thank you so much, Catherine. We can't wait. We're looking forward to it.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks,
guys.
Bye.